Hello, good evening, everybody. This is Mia with Do I Look Sick?
And Jennifer, and we have a special guest with us today in the studio, Miss Tony, my mother.
Thank you for coming and joining us, Miss Tony.
Thank you for inviting me.
I always appreciate your insight and your wisdom. It's very much appreciated, and I think it will help a lot of people today, whether they're parents or whether they're warriors or spouses or whatever. So she's here to give her insight from a caregiver's perspective. So today we want to let you guys let you in more on the patient experience. And when I say patient, I'm not just saying in the hospital. I really hate that they use that term when we're not in the hospital.
Yeah, because we're not always patients. Sometimes
yeah.
we're just people living with sickle cell.
Maybe I should have called it the warrior experience. That would have been a lot better. But we just go through so much on a regular, everyday activity that it's our whole life is planned around sickle cell and planned around this unpredictability. Would you say that sound about right?
Yes. It sounds extremely right, because even the smallest thing you have to take into account what may or may not happen due to the fact of the weather or the environment that you're in at the time. Like, oh, is it going to be cold in that office? Is it going to be hot outside? You have to take all these things into consideration that most people don't even think twice about.
Right. And even when we were traveling, we've mentioned this before about what we have to do before we take flight somewhere, or even while we're at wherever we are, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in Costa Rica, just what we have to go through to even maintain when we're there.
So you have to take into consideration if it's going to be too hot or if it's going to be too cold.
Yeah.
And if it's going to rain.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to walk too far.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to carry baggage, all of those kind of things. Walking across the airport to your flight and all of those things, which a lot of times people don't have to consider that stuff.
I mean, just on days that we have shows, I usually don't get out of the bed until it's time for me to start getting ready, just because I need the rest. I need to have it. So that's something that a lot of people don't have to do. Like, for one thing that they're doing in their daily, activities, stay in bed until you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But even things like cleaning up at home, cooking, for me, standing up, and I like to cook like with fresh ingredients, and I want to chop up my vegetables and chop up the herbs sometimes. When I'm in the mood to do that, it usually messes my legs up, and I know that I'm prepared to deal with that. I think our minds are always on pain. And like you mentioned earlier about being at the airport, I get a wheelchair. Well, my legs are one of the main places that I have pain, but I make sure to get a wheelchair because I don't know what the walking is going to be like when I get to where I'm going. Right. So it kind of saves that energy, so I can use it when I get to my destination. But yeah, we have to properly plan before we do anything.
Yeah. And when you fail to do that, then you put yourself in a pretty bad situation, you know,
Yeah.
where you're on the back end now trying to mitigate what you didn't take into account earlier.
And you know, guys, sometimes you can take all of that into account and you still end up in crisis.
You're right.
This is
You
true.
can do whatever you need to do and do it. I remember when Jennifer was growing up and we would be like, put on this, make sure you have this on, make sure you have that on. And then I finally, at some point in her life, realized that, and I have to say this to people all the time, because sometimes they'll say, well, if she didn't do this, this wouldn't happen. If she had done this, this would have. And I say that you can do everything right that you know to do, but you still could possibly end up in crisis for some reason or another.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just you're taking into consideration everything, but there's just some things that you can't
account for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you have a raging infection and you have no idea,
Right.
and so you can't prepare for that.
Right.
No.
Right. And then just dealing with it. We also have to be able to, I kind of feel like we're constantly getting bad news. So it's like we have to be able to deal with that somehow. You know, some of us can't deal with it, but some of us just deal with it all bad. And, you know, we have to figure out how to deal with those type moments because it's always going to be something with sickle cell.
I always feel like, you know, that the episode, the scene in The Wiz with Eveline, and they're working in the shop, and she's like, "Don't nobody bring me no bad news." That's when I get phone calls. I'm like, don't nobody bring me no bad news.
I don't want to hear it. I don't blame you because we hear enough of it, so I don't blame you. So let's talk about like the dangers of waiting before even going to the hospital. So I want to show this clip. Me and you got it bad about waiting to even take medication.
Yeah, we
You guys are not the only ones in y'all.
I know.
And you know it.
Okay. Yeah, so we have it bad about taking our medications, and
Because sometimes you just don't want to. I mean,
yeah, and I don't want to deal with the side effects.
definitely that.
One of the side effects is irritability, but with that, I kind of feel like I'm gonna be irritable from the pain or from the pain meds, both of them. You know, I can't choose. But all the other just side effects. And then I have a habit of, okay, now I feel better. Let me go conquer the world.
Yeah, no.
So I'm still I've had to train myself recently just to, once I take the medicine, just chill and just let my body regroup. But before, I'm feeling better. Let me go, dude.
Well, that's because you're a warrior. And because you are a warrior, you figure that, okay, this crisis is over. Now I can go back out there and conquer the world. And you can do that, but you have to take like baby steps after those crises and those moments. Give yourself time to heal.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take a look at the clip so you guys can see us talking about this at one point in time. For the most part, like when I talk to people, everyone says the same thing. Like they don't want to take their medication. So, you know, when they look at us and like, oh, there's another drug seeker coming in or whatever, they have it all backwards. It's all wrong. Like nobody wants to be in the hospital. Nobody wants y'all sticking them and getting their medication wrong. Nobody wants to be away from their family for a week, or, you know, who would go through all of that just for some medication when I have it at home?
Right. That was more of us talking about, you know, we try to do what we can at home. So when we get to the hospital, like it's another battle. And by the time we get to the hospital, we really don't even want to be there.
Right.
So that's what that was talking about, and just having to fight that extra battle, having to get up the strength to fight that extra battle once we get to the
Right,
hospital.
the battle of the stereotype of, oh, here you are seeking drugs. Weren't you just here? Or whatever it is that someone may be thinking. Now, I think I've been lucky enough recently not to have to deal with those types of stereotypes because I've been able to bypass the emergency room altogether. And the one time recently that I was in the emergency room, I had like a little baby nurse. So she was, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is terrible. Like, so you get those types, and then you get the ones who are seasoned, like, I'll get your medicine when I get it.
Right,
like that
right,
kind of
right.
thing.
That newness wears off, and I hate that. I had a friend of mine who's doing her rounds now. She just finished nursing school, and she'll text me when she's aggravated with the other nurses because they're not treating us right. And she's like, I don't want to say anything because I'm the new person, but I have a better understanding, and they're just going to brush it off because I'm the new girl.
Right.
But even with that in mind, she still should, because that's a moment to educate, even though they're seasoned, but they don't know. So that's your moment to educate those seasoned nurses and let them know that these are the things that we need to do for our patients. And maybe somebody will eventually hear it.
Yeah.
Like you had an incident where you were talking with the nurse about the medication that she was giving you and how they dilute it, and you explained to her.
Oh yeah, I was like, when you dilute my medicine, I said, for example, if you give your child a cup of apple juice and you just give them a cup of juice, it tastes good like apple juice. But if you give it to them and you dilute it with water, cut it in half with water, it's watered down. It's not as sweet. It's not as potent. And she was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it like that. Because they're always like, well, it's the same amount. Yes, it's the same amount, but it's not as potent. It's not as strong.
Right.
And when you're in pain like we're in pain, it would be nice for you not to dilute my medication.
Yeah, and they look at that completely wrong.
Right.
They don't look at it as, they don't even ask for explanation. Some of them just getting their feelings about because
like,
you
oh no,
asked.
we don't do that. You just
Yeah.
want that high. No, I just don't want to be in pain.
Right. It's not about the high. It's about the relief. That's what I want. That's what I want ASAP. You can keep the high. I prefer you actually keep the
Right.
Right.
You can
Right.
keep the side effects and all of that. Just
kill
give
the
me the
pain,
relief.
yeah.
Yeah, just give me the relief. So yeah. And they talk to us any kind of way when they see that we're heavily medicated. I just kind of feel like they think we're doped up and don't know what's going on, but we hear the conversations. We remember the conversations that they have when we are medicated. So
I think you are the most aware because of the treatment and the things that they say and the things that they do. So you're heightened. Your awareness is heightened. And they don't appreciate that because you're there saying, look, this is not working for me. I generally take X amount of medication at home, and this you're giving me this, it's not going to work. You might as well let me go home. It's like a piece of candy, and it's not going to work. But they take offense to that, you knowing what makes you feel better, which is totally outrageous on their part to be offended by it.
And I often wonder if, other diseases have that same issue, or is it just us?
I think if they're black dealing with those diseases, probably so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I have fibromyalgia, do you still treat me the same way?
No,
I feel
I
like
don't
they
think
would.
so. You think they would?
Yeah. Because aside from the disease, it comes back down to the stereotype of us being black. A black woman,
But
especially
I
that
say I'm not a black woman.
Huh.
Say I'm not a black woman and I have fibromyalgia.
Oh no, you won't have those
No.
issues.
No.
Not at all, Jennifer. Not at all.
Right?
Not at all. I think it would be easily given to you with no questions, no problems.
And that's disheartening.
Yeah, you could probably go back repeatedly, but yeah, it is very disheartening. Overall, just outside of just sickle cell, just in the black community overall, just the stuff that we have to deal with in the when it comes to the medical community. So it's just all bad. So it helps when there is someone else there to talk to these nurses or the techs or whomever. When they see that extra face there, they don't tend to talk as crazy as they
Yeah.
normally would.
And even if that extra face isn't there, but like they're calling on the phone and they're making themselves known because, with COVID, it hasn't been possible for a lot of people to have people there with them. And I think, that's kind of been a downfall in the care for, sickle cell patients.
Yeah, yeah. And what's your response like, Miss Tony, when you are calling in for Jennifer? For Jennifer.
Well, it depends on what they're doing. If she's calling me at night crying, I'm going straight to the charge nurse.
Okay.
If she tells me that a nurse has done something that wasn't correct, I'm calling the charge nurse. And a lot of times she doesn't want me to call, but I'm like, no, they need to know that this is happening. We had a situation where she called me and told me what was going on. I called the charge nurse and told the charge nurse. The nurse came back into her room and said, "Oh, you called your mother." I was like, "Oh no, that's just unprofessional. She is taunting you."
Right.
I called the charge nurse back.
Again, right.
And I told her what the woman said to her and what she did. And she was like, "Oh no, because even though my daughter is grown, she can call." I said, "Right, she can call me for whatever she needs to call me for, and I'm gonna call you."
Right.
Because if you don't know what's going on, how are you going to correct this system?
Right. Right.
So, and I said, and if the charge nurse doesn't fix it, I'm going to the nurse manager. And then I'm going to write a letter to the president of the darn hospital because I've done that too.
Yeah.
Because, they say they're going to treat your people like they treat their own people. Where's the treatment, the good treatment coming from? When is it going to happen?
Yeah.
So that's how I go at it, and I go at it very strong because I don't want them mistreating my child.
Right.
And I'll call for you. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the same
village.
attitude and the same strength, because nobody should be treated ill in the hospital. Jennifer was in the hospital once, and she told me to call Doris.
Miss Bailey.
That lady called the hospital, and the next thing we knew, everybody was coming in that room checking on her.
Yeah. And it shouldn't have to take that.
Right.
It shouldn't even have to take that if just adequate care was given from the jump. It was just the baseline. It's not even the baseline.
Yeah.
And we're begging for average care.
That's so crazy because she barely even knew me at the time.
That's right. We had just met
her. But she was like, if you need anything, just call me. I was like, this sounds like a job for Miss Bailey.
And Jennifer was like, call Miss Doris. I was like, okay, I'm here, but I'm gonna call her. And she was on it, and I was like, okay, so I get it. Even though I was there and I was voicing my opinion, but that lady, she said something that got them moving. Yes, she did.
And we need people like that, because we just do.
Yeah.
Ain't no cause, because we just do.
You should. And the sad part about it is you shouldn't have to, nobody, that's their job, is to take care of the sick, no matter what their problem is. And I shouldn't have to be at the hospital for you to come in there 25 times in an hour to check on my family. I shouldn't have to do that.
Because there's been so many times where I've been there all day long, and the tech has maybe come in there one time, But as soon as my mom comes, every 15 minutes they're in
Checking
there.
on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this lady hasn't been in here but one time today. And now she in here. You need anything? You want some ice? You want some water? Can I warm up some food? Did you order your lunch? Did you?
See.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
but
okay.
we had a situation like that, and that was during COVID, and I think I called her, I think, and I told you to ask the nurse what she do, and you were like, she's not gonna do it. And I asked her, I think I was there, and she became like your new best friend.
Right. Right.
You know, I was like, oh my God.
It took that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she went down there and got the food and did all the things that she was asked to do. She took that extra step, but they don't listen either.
Right.
They don't
Yeah.
listen.
Right. They don't. So I wanted on one of our previous shows we talked about addiction versus dependency, and you had mentioned that sometimes addiction is genetic. We talked about how in some cases the doctors that are prescribing us this same medication that think we're the drug seekers are the drug seekers. They're the ones that's more addicted to them than we are. We're less likely to be addicted to them. But that dependency,
I don't remember
is
what
real.
the statistic was, but statistically it was nurses who dispensed that medicine were more apt to be addicted to the medicine than sickle cell patients.
Yeah. Because, like, before that clip, you were like, most of us don't even want to take the medication in the first place.
Right.
So, and we talked about how the medicine sometimes is time to make you feel like you need it or put your body back in pain after so long.
Yeah.
So it causes that repetitive cycle. And then for me, once I've gone some time without taking the prescription meds, it's gonna take me a minute to accept that I need to take them.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what those opioids do. They create a need within your body also. Even though you're taking it for the pain and all of that, but it creates a need for you. It's like a little vicious cycle now, because now you don't know if you're really in pain or if you just want to get the medication.
And it's a matter of knowing your body and knowing what type of pain you're experiencing.
So sometimes you have to just not take it, just so you can see what your body is gonna do.
Right.
Like I find that to be the case. So sometimes it's like I won't take anything just until I figure out what's really going on in my body.
Yeah. Before we continue, I want to get you guys' opinion on your patient experience, or if you have any questions, just give us a call, 470-251-4647. That's 470-251-4647. But yeah, I worry about the long-term effects as well. With the medications, I honestly think the pain medications are meant for like one single use times. Like I honestly feel like if people have surgery, some of that stuff is too strong, especially if the person is not used to taking the medication.
I agree.
They could probably deal with a lower dose,
like
narcotic.
a Tylenol 3 or something.
Yeah, or even Tylenol and ibuprofen together or something. It depends on the pain in the person, but if they're not used to taking pain medication,
Why would you give them oxy?
Yeah, that bothers me, and that just sets the traps in my eyes.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the drug manufacturers and the doctors,
Getting
I don't want to put it out there like that, but it's
Oh, you mean like getting paid to?
The drug companies. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff goes with it. You have some that won't do that, but then you have some that will.
Yeah, it's it's just sad though. I would want, people's health and just having that consideration as top priority versus the profit. Because it's killing a lot more people than I feel like it's helping.
You do have some doctors that are that way, care more about their patients than the benefits. Jennifer has a doctor. I was at his office with her, and I was wheezing, and he was like, "Who's wheezing?" I was like, "It's probably me." He got up from taking care of her and went and got something for inhale it for me to have. He gave it to me. He said, "Now some of my colleagues would be want you to make an appointment and all that stuff." But he was like, "Here, that thing was good too."
It sounds like the goat.
It's the goat.
It's the goat. I knew it was the goat. That's why he's the goat.
So so there's some out there.
Yeah. I definitely believe that too. My primary care physician, he is someone that has been treating sickle cell patients for a very long time now. So I feel comfortable with him because of that reason. I've worked with him before. And I have cell phone access to him. So if I need anything, even with the last hospitalization, I was able to call him to talk to my doctor there.
That's right.
To get things situated. So
and
that's life saving.
It really is.
Yeah,
it's life saving. We had an encounter just recently where Jennifer, they wanted to keep her at the hospital, and we were like, "No, she just got out of the hospital. All this other stuff is going on." So we called the doctor who she sees. He talked to the ER doctor, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm okay to discharge," because he was going to discharge her AMA because we were not trying to stay there. She was not trying to stay there, but after he spoke to the doctor, he was like he was comfortable with allowing her to go home.
Yeah.
So it's important to establish that kind of relationship with your doctor.
Yeah.
It really is important.
Agreed. We talk a lot about having that support system and just having that team because of that reason. It's just really important. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Right.
And that's in any case, but especially for maintaining and managing sickle cell disease.
I mean, it just when all your doctors are on the same page, it just makes things go so smoothly.
Yeah.
Because they're all working towards one common goal, which is to make you well.
Right. So I did want to say this also about the pain medication before I asked you the next question. But I complained to my hematologist once before about having nerve pain. And I think my nerve pain, honestly, is from the neurological disorder. I really believe that's what it's from. But my hematologist told me that the pain medication also causes nerve pain. And I was like, well, can I get just another medication? He was like, well, all of them do that. So I feel like I'm putting nerve pain on top of nerve pain.
Right.
And I ain't gonna never get rid of it. It's just gonna be there. So that's like a long-term of a long-term problem that I have issues with. And I really don't want to take medication long-term in order to deal with it. So it's just horrible. It's a domino effect, I feel like, for the pain meds.
It is. It's not only, it's a domino effect for everything that happens to you.
Yeah.
Because sickle cell creates all kinds of different issues. Hips, shoulders. Yeah.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes.
Knees and toes. Knees and toes.
It creates all kinds of problems for you going forward in your life. And as you grow older, your body starts to deteriorate and break down because of, the effects of the sickle cell. So it's a miracle, if you live here up until 40, It really is.
40 chronologically, but
you're much older.
I mean, seriously.
I'm glad y'all read my notes, because that was one of my things. How with sickle cell and aging, we age faster. We about the same age for some reason.
One of the nurses at the ER was like, "Oh my God, you're so young, you're so young, you're so young." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm 39 almost." And she's like, "Well, what's your secret?" I was like, "Sickle cell."
Do you want it?
I was like, "My cells die real fast." She was like, "Oh, like that's kind of like that awkward humor that we have."
Yeah.
She didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
Say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we age faster and we can feel it. We may not look like we can feel. We don't look sick, but we definitely feel geriatric, and that is a term I've been using for quite some time.
Yeah.
I saw the article. I forgot who wrote it. I was too busy being offended when they wrote it. But they said, the 1980 to 1985 people were geriatric millennials. And I felt offended. Like, I can call myself geriatric.
But y'all call me that.
But not you. Well, I'm going to tell you, when Jennifer was just a baby, young, she was old. She's like,
she was born old.
You can see it's like she had aches, And at that time, I wasn't really aware as aware of sickle cell and what it does and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, you're like an old lady, When it rains, you hurt. No, it wasn't then when you were little. But I'm just saying, it was like the way she moved and stuff was like, dang, you act like an old lady. And I used to say that all the time, but I didn't realize that was real.
Yeah.
Because of the sickle cell.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember they told me to start walking with a cane at 16 because that's when I was diagnosed with AVN in my left hip. I would not.
I'm about to say, I bet you did not.
No. Y'all see, I barely use it now.
It got worse.
No, it got better because at least I could keep it in my car. Okay. I didn't have no car at 16 to keep it, so it just stayed at home. Okay. So I've gotten a little bit better in those, 22 years.
Well, Jen, can I share this about the chair?
Yeah.
The last time Jennifer wasn't well, she couldn't walk up and down the stairs. She had stairs in the house. And I'm like, oh, my God, you need a chairlift. And I was like, we're going to ask the doctor about helping you get that. And so we went to the doctor, and I asked the lady, I said, so I'm trying to convince her to get a chairlift, but she's refusing it. And the doctor was like, well, we want her to be a little more mobile. We want her to move around a little bit. But I'm like, but she can't walk up and down the stairs. She's falling down the stairs and things like that. So, come on, Jen.
We have so many tools that we need.
But we refuse to use them. The walker.
The rollator.
She got that rolling thing.
Yep, the one that you sit on.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's crazy to see, like, my peers using that type of stuff. The first time I went to a conference and saw another warrior on it, it just like really hit me like we old for real.
Right. Like, not only do I have that, I have oxygen. Oh no. Like
I've had my hips replaced before I turned 30, so I have 2 titanium hips before 30. It's just so much geriatric stuff. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I can't deal with it sometimes.
For the geriatric sickle cell club.
Right. That's the whole community right there. That's everybody. Yes. We rub down with Bengay every Wednesday or something. We exchange.
At camp.
Tell the story, Jennifer.
So at camp, we all come with like all of our pain creams and stuff. So everyone's like, well, what do you have? What do you have? Okay, let me try that. Let me try what you got. You try what she got. I'm going to try what she has. Then somebody walks in the room and it smacks you in the face with like menthol, camphor, spearmint, whatever else is in the cream. And it's just like, what y'all doing in here?
Trying to get rid of the pain from being at camp all day. Yeah, that was definitely funny. Just using those pain creams at camp and just experimenting with the different pain creams, I find that we have a lot of, outside of the geriatric tools, we still need like a lot of medical devices. I would say a heating pad is a medical device.
Yeah.
Like a TENS
A
unit.
TENS unit.
What other kind of?
What?
A TENS unit. The you put it on your body and it does the little electric jolts.
Oh, okay. You had that, did?
I did have one of those. And not just one heating pad, like multiple heating pads.
Specifically a vibrating heating pad.
Right, vibrating, weighted.
The body length heating pad. A weighted blanket. Compression socks. Like we have all these things that's our toy box.
Yeah.
That's our toy box with all those type of weird gadgets and medical tools and massagers. I have a massager that I borrowed, and I can strap the massagers around my legs so they can help the circulation while I'm just laid in the bed.
You borrowed it?
I did borrow it, yeah.
Okay.
I did borrow it. I still have it. I ain't gave it back yet, but they'll get it one day. So let me ask you, Jennifer, what would your ideal preventative plan or maintenance plan be?
So adequate rest for one. Adequate hydration for two. My meds, my heating pads, and my pain creams. That'd be like my little toolbox.
Okay.
And then, of course, something like a coloring book or word puzzle book or something like that to keep me busy while I'm, getting myself through the pain.
Right. So what about when it comes to like preventative care, like a chiropractor? Or
like what kind of professionals?
Yeah, that too.
Okay, so I fell in love with the chiropractor that I had. So that would be one. A masseuse, maybe one that doesn't go so deep for me, because too deep is an issue.
Yeah.
And when I say chiropractor, I want one who has like a rolling table or that heating pad table that does the wet heat. A good hematologist, a good pulmonologist, a good nephrologist, and a good PCP.
I think that's a good, well-rounded plan, especially with the hematologist, the PCP, the specialty doctors. Like for me, my retinal specialist is awesome. My ENT, he's pretty good. I learned that, and this was something that I learned, that the hearing loss in my left ear. Oh, hearing aids is geriatric too, and I need that too. So there's a lack of circulation to the cochlea in my ear, and that's the hearing organ. So that has caused hearing loss in my left ear, and it's caused some balance issues. Mm-hmm. So my ENT doctor is pretty cool. He's good. I have not found a chiropractor, but I will alternate chiropractic care with a masseuse and with acupuncture. I really enjoy acupuncture, and I would definitely do that again. So I kind of alternate, because I wouldn't want to mix all those like too close together, because we can do too much just like we can do too little. And I did join the Y for like the YMCA does have. I've been going to their balance and stability classes. I've been going to one of their yoga classes. That's a little bit more slow paced for me. So definitely incorporating things like that that'll keep me moving, keep my balance and stability together. But it's kind of hard to do those things consistently, especially if you have to pay out of pocket if insurance isn't paying for it.
I was gonna ask you when you said round out the massage therapy, the acupuncture, and the chiropractor. What is your ideal time frame? Like every month you get one of those done, or every 2 months? What would you do?
I would start off with every month, because I'm alternating. If I notice that like I'm getting sick from doing it, then I'd probably stretch it out to each one every 2 months.
Okay.
But to start out, I would go every month.
Okay.
Would you do all 3 every month or alternate?
Alternate one once a month.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think 3 would be too much.
Okay.
I know from firsthand that the massage and the acupuncture can send you overboard and can cause a crisis.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to do those like close together. I'd separate them out.
I did have a massage and I went into crisis, but I also had a massage and I didn't go into a crisis.
Yeah.
So I think it was the amount of pressure that was what was different between the two. And I actually found this place here in Atlanta that does this, like, they put you in like a pod.
Okay.
And it's heated and it vibrates and has like aromatherapy. And that was like the best thing ever. Like, it wasn't a massage, but it wasn't not a massage, you know?
Yeah. The vibration.
Right, the vibration and the heat in the pod. And then they had music playing.
What? You don't remember what this was?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and tell me. I would also include Jeju in my preventative care.
Oh, God.
I would. Yes, I would.
And well, it is preventative for some people.
It's gonna be preventative for me.
Well, Jeju is a good place.
Yeah.
It's just, well, I wouldn't have gone
During COVID.
But I have been there before, and it's really, really totally relaxing, and that's important for you as well.
Yeah.
And the heated rooms and all of that, that's, you know, and then the crystals and the minerals and things, so that's really, really good.
Yeah. So. And even now when I go in there, because the last time I went, I needed a staycation. I kind of felt like I just needed to get away and nurse myself. But I was there all day, and I had kind of like a routine. The Jade room, I went in and kind of did yoga because it's like room temperature in there. So I went in there and did yoga. I went in the Amethyst room and like prayed or asked for whatever, manifest whatever. Then they have like the charcoal room. It was just really nice. There was nobody in there when I went the last time, so I had a lot of flexibility on which room.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so when I go back, it's going to be during the day and during the week so that I can have that space to myself and just kind of decompress. And it's important in self-care, preventative care, to just be able to have that time to yourself. Because after I left Jeju, I just went to a hotel for 2 days. I didn't come out. Got my food on the first day. I did not come out till 2 days later just to zone everything out.
You was gone.
Yes, it was so lovely.
That's a good idea.
It was amazing. So I said I would do those like every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, if you can do something like that, you should, because it does help with the healing. It helps to relax you. It helps to relax your mind. And the things that you deal with on a daily basis, as far as the sickle cell goes, you need some time to decompress and, you know, kind of get away from it all. The things that that bother you, stress you out, those types of things. It's important
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's part of health, taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because I notice sometimes like that I'm just tense,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I don't even realize it until something happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always like,
Holding yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that too. And every time I notice it, I just try to take a deep breath, and I'm like, why am I holding? Why am I so tense?
but and
Yeah.
I do that. Like I'll take a deep breath and be like, and then next thing I know, I'm back.
Yep.
I'm like, what? I put my
Yep.
shoulders down.
Be doing the bankhead bounce. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that, especially when I'm watching movies with my mom and Devin. My arm, some is different arms sometimes. This one was the one affected by my stroke, so sometimes it'll just tense up on its own. I feel like I'm relaxed, but it'll tense up on its own and just kind of bend in. So it's crazy. Also, when I had that staycation, I stopped and got a case of water. I got snacks, healthy snacks that I would eat while I'm there, and like bagels or something to keep in the fridge. So I really didn't have to come out my room for nothing. So yeah. So yeah, that's the patient experience. It's not fun at all, but we conquer it daily, hourly.
And we look good doing it.
Huh.
So we look good doing it.
I know, right? We will be 38. I'll be 38 in a week. I know I don't look it, but I am very glad to see it. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to see it next week.
Yeah.
I take full advantage of all birthdays, every birthday, because a lot of people did not make it to 38.
That's
so
That's true.
I take full advantage of all of my birthdays. So yeah.
So
Let's thank these sponsors. We a little early, but that's okay. We have the Apex Museum. I believe they are open up now. Excuse me. But you guys definitely have to check out the Apex Museum. It's beautiful there. Learn your history. Right in downtown Atlanta. So, like, you can't miss it. We want to thank Tanya Robinson and Daycare and Kid Stop Daycare and Learning Center. That has been continuing to work even with this pandemic and helping the kids get their work done with virtual school. And Black Professionals Network. Thank you guys. You guys want to add anything else?
I would like for you just to add anything at the end of what you think is pivotal for caregivers to know when it comes to supporting your sickle cell having person.
Well, I think it's just important that we kind of be there. And it's a challenge to be there when you have other things going on in your life. But just to be there so that that person will feel comfortable with asking you to do things with them, for them, and be willing to do whatever you can. And sometimes you have to say no, and that's not an easy thing to do, but it's important that you take care of yourself as well. So, because the last 2 days I've been home and I haven't done anything for Jennifer, and today was the day that I was going to stay home and do my laundry and all that kind of stuff, and then I got the call last night, and so yes, I'll do it, but you have to take care of yourself, and just like you said you did a staycation, I'm planning one for myself. It's not going to happen until July. But I'm still excited about it, and you just gave me some tips. Take all the stuff that you think you might want so you don't have to go out, and just be in there and love on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's important for caregivers, to take care of themselves and love on themselves. Love your people that you care for, but take care of yourself, because you can't take care of them if you don't take care of yourself. And that's very important.
Right, so you can't pour from an empty glass.
Nope.
Right.
It sure
Well, thank
can.
you so much again, Miss Tony. I think that was awesome advice for a lot of people, not just caregivers, but for everyone. You can't take care of anybody else unless you take care of yourself. So, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
being here.
You're welcome. Mwah.
They so sweet.
Mwah.
Bye, y'all. We'll see y'all in a couple of weeks.